The internet is buzzing with questions, and we are here with the answers. And to start us off, here's Hisham Mundol with his take.
Hi, this is Hisham Mundol. I'm with an organization called the Environmental Defense Fund, and we're here to discuss questions that the internet wants to know about climate change.
Emission trading? Is that like people trading farts on the stock market?
I'm going to try and answer this authentically, and I think I'm going to regret where I'm going. The answer is yes, but with some caveats. Let's assume that you fart 10 times a day. Right now, you can pretty much fart as much as you want to. But let's assume that tomorrow onwards, somebody says you're allowed only 9 farts, and next week onwards, you have to take that down to 7 farts a day. What if you fart 9 times? It's all good, you're within your limit. What if you did 10? Then what you have to do is you have to buy a fart equivalent from somebody. Now, on the other hand, somebody else hasn't farted 9 times a day, they farted 8. So they got a Pokémon card for that. And what you then do is have to buy the Pokémon card from the person who farted less. That's the broad idea. And I'm sure many in the climate community are going to hound me for this analogy, but it's broadly accurate.
Aren't farmers to blame for a big chunk of India's emissions, especially those burning stubble in Punjab?
It is true that a significant percentage of emissions come from agriculture, roughly 20%. But there are many reasons for that. And the thing to keep in mind is farmers aren't emitting because they want to. They're emitting because they don't have a choice. The nature of agriculture is such that emissions will come out of it. What farmers are trying to do, and we need to do everything we can to support them, is to help them produce the food that we need with less emissions. At the same time, I'll point out that farmers are actually on the front lines of climate change. So for us, sometimes it's a bit of a theoretical conversation about where climate change is going. Farmers see the impact every day.
If the electricity powering EVs comes from fossil fuels, are EVs really better for the environment?
The answer is yes, EVs are better, even if the energy source is completely fossil fuel. But there's one thing to keep in mind, which is that the power source is not only fossil fuel. It is becoming more and more green. There's more solar, there's more wind. So progressively, the input that's going into EVs is becoming cleaner. At the same time, the analogy to use is if it was a completely fossil fuel-based grid, would you rather have coal being burnt in one location or petrol and diesel in a million vehicles with inconsistent pollution emission norms, inconsistent standards, etc.? It still makes more sense to use EVs, but remember that the grid is getting greener and greener.
Is India doing enough to fight climate change, or are we just part of the problem?
So the first part is, how much of the problem do we represent? We are 4% of historical emissions, which means we are 4% of the problem. Now leave that aside for a moment. What is India doing? I think there's a number of really remarkable things. The first is the political atmosphere on climate change is so much healthier in India than any other country. We're not questioning whether it's happening or not. We don't have wild conspiracy theories about, windmills killing whales. We might have, and we should have, legitimate debate on what action we should take, one versus another. But we're not questioning the fundamental science. That is a really good place to be in, and I hope we stay there for as long as it takes.
Is agriculture a bad career choice in India?
Agriculture is a tough area, but it is an incredible career choice. There is so much exciting movement happening in the space in terms of science and economics and business models. And a career choice in agriculture means when you go back from the office, what you would have known is you've helped feed a nation, you've given livelihood and dignity to millions of people, and you've done that in a more environmentally sound manner. I can't think of a better career choice.
Got more farming myths or climate questions? Ask below and follow us for honest answers.